Today's video is on the brand new Olight Warrior Mini 2, the light here in black. Olight took feedback from the community on the original Warrior Mini, which I've done a review on in the past. I've made 2 videos on it, and they've made some changes for this light on the Warrior Mini 2. The Mini 2 follows a similar manner on how Olight upgraded the Olight S2R Baton 2 and the Baton Pro, with it gaining length and features. Olight did send me the new Warrior Mini 2 review and promote their new flash sale that starts tonight at 7 p.m. Central Time, and I'll explain the sale further on in this review, but do know that if you're interested in anything, using my link below will help the channel, and if you're watching this after the sale is over, I'll have a code to where you can save 10% off regularly priced items. This will be a longer review, but it has chapters, so make sure to skip around to see the parts that you're most interested in. I'll just leave a short little plug here for my social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, and newly TikTok. So a little bit about that flash sale before we do the review. It starts June 17th at 7 p.m. Central Time and runs for 24 hours, and if you order anything during that flash sale, you also get the new Olight Father's Day Mini tool also. So we'll talk about packaging here. It's your standard Olight box here. I'm not going to go into that. On the back, you do have a lot of information about the light, features, and a spec chart, which is nice to see. Accessories, you get that MCC 2A charging cable. It's got that red background on it, and that helps you know it's the newer, faster version. You get a new version of lanyard. Instead of being cloth here, it is like a silicone and it's stretchy. You get a manual. You get the light itself here. The clip comes pre-installed. You get this rear clip, which I'll talk about in a minute. You get this climbing ring, and then you get a 3,500 milliamp hour custom Olight battery inside. So let's talk about construction here. It's your typical Olight quality. It's a good quality light. I have no complaints there. Good fit and finish. The tail is a one-piece design, as you can see with the body, so it doesn't unscrew. Your rear button is all metal construction. It's got that tri-lug design on there, and that helps you push it with gloves on, makes it easy to handle. Unfortunately, the magnet here isn't quite as strong. I think they did that a little bit for safety reasons. If you've watched my other reviews, you kind of know what I'm talking about. And as a result, this light will not stick horizontally to surfaces. It will stick vertically though, in my experience. If I stick it to my knife here, you can see it's just not quite strong enough here, and it doesn't matter if the ring's on it or not. Whereas I take the old light and stick it to the knife, and it's barely holding on, but it does hold on. That said, it does tail stand without an issue. It stands on its head without an issue here. The button is a little bit spongy. It's like the other Olight buttons of this style. If you've felt it, you know what I mean. It takes a little bit of muscle memory to know where your low point is before you push to high. The texture on the body here is aggressive, and I like it. It's the exact same as what was on the original Olight Warrior Mini. It's got these pyramids kind of that are cut in there. I like this. It will cut up your pockets some, but it feels really good in the hand. You're not going to drop it if it's wet or anything like that. Up until this point, this really is the same as the Warrior Mini, and you can see the heads are interchangeable here, not an issue. I can turn it on, works just fine. One of the differences though between the two lights is the addition of this new pocket clip ring that I'll call it here on the bottom. Right now I've got this other ring that's on there, it does come off, so we can talk about that later here, but the pocket clip does switch down and make it easy to put the light into an ultra deep carry configuration, and I'll talk about more on that in a minute. The head internally has a short spring in the center, and then a ring of pogo pins for making contact with the Olight proprietary batteries on the negative terminal on the top. This is the same basic design as the Warrior Mini. The heads are interchangeable, as you saw there. This external clip is captured, so it doesn't rotate when it's in its top configuration. In the bottom configuration, it can rotate, but that is it's pretty tight fit. The button here is the same as what we saw on pretty much all the other Olights. You do have an LED in the center there that changes colors based on the battery charge level. The head is longer here than what we saw on the Warrior Mini, very similar to what we saw on the Baton Pro in terms of size, actually just a little bit longer there. And you can see the bezel here is a different material. It is that aluminum, and it's got a kind of a wavy crenulation on there. It's not aggressive. The lens is a big difference here. That bezel is removable, but I think it's glued in place. I couldn't remove it easily. The lens here is a big deal. You've seen my previous video, you know what I'm talking about here. Some people experience some melting and burning with the lens. It was covered with material or clothing or stuff like that. Well, Olight's fixed that on this model. They've got a glass lens cover and then a glass TIR style optic underneath. So this won't melt, and it's really what they should have done originally. It's a great change. You will also notice there that black fleck, that is a proximity sensor. I will talk more about that later on in the review. So is it safe? Since Since I know this is what a lot of you guys are wondering, I'll make it its own section, but I'll talk more about this as we go through the review, especially with the proximity sensor and the UI and how it works. So what I've got here is a black sock. I'm gonna put the light on in turbo, and we can see it originally got brighter and then stepped down right away, and that is because that proximity sensor. When there is something close to that proximity sensor, the light will step down automatically. That's really for safety here. I can hold the outside. It's not getting warm. This is only about 500 lumens here. When I had it just in front, it's slightly warm, but it's definitely not enough to burn or melt anything. It shouldn't cause any damage there. And an additional safety feature here is if this stays covered for up to 1 minute or longer, it will shut off. And I will speed up the footage here so we can see that. So there it is, shut off. I can turn it back on turbo here, and you can probably see it steps down, steps up, steps down. I really like that part of it. The other question you probably have about safety is this rear button. There were a lot of reports of people being able to make contact with this and getting the light to come on, and you need a high resistance load for that. Well, I tried a lot of different things. Here's a bowl of coins, like it might be in your pocket. I can bury this thing in here, and I can't get it to come on. I tried that. Here is a ball and chain like you might find on your keychain or something like that. I can't get that to come on at all. The light's just not on. Here's some keys. You know, I could never get this to work on the original light as well here, so I'm not a shill. I'm not doing anything like that. I just never had this problem originally. I recognize that others did, and it was a problem. I think Olight's fixed that in this model, or at least they have in my instance. I've carried the light for a couple of weeks now and had zero issues of it coming on, or if it did come on, I didn't know about it because of that proximity sensor. So I think this one's good to go and safe to carry. I measured the overall length here at 118 millimeters, minimum diameter at the tail at 23.3 millimeters, and the maximum diameter at the head at 25. Weight with the battery and the main pocket clip installed was 120 grams, just as you see it pictured here, and the light is IPX8 water rated with a drop rating of 1.5 meters. So the Warrior Mini 2 grew in length by 11 millimeters and weight by 15 grams on that original Warrior Mini. To me, that's a little bit disappointing. I like the carryability of the smaller light better, but the proximity sensor here is nice to have, and it is safe. So with retention, you have some new options with this light. I've got it in the configuration that it comes in right now. However, that's not how I carried it. How I carried it mostly was with the pocket clip in the rear configuration here. This allows for ultra deep carry, and I'll put a couple pictures in there of the clip going both directions. You will notice that the clip here is quite a bit longer. I'm not quite sure why Olight did this. It's very long. My clip is slightly crooked as well. You can put your lanyard attachment point here at the top of the clip if you want to. So that is nice. You also have this new clip style attachment and then this key ring here. It's kind of like a little carabiner key ring. Olight advertises that as the ability to put your finger through. So maybe something like this, you're using the light and just want an extra point of security. So if you need to use your hands, you can kind of grip it like this, but then you can use the ring and secure it so you don't drop the light. It's a nice idea. I don't think I'll use it, but I can see how some people will. That fits on either end of the light too. So nice touch. I don't think it's something I'll use though. The LED being used in the Warrior Mini 2 is the SST40 in a 6,000 to 7,000 Kelvin tint. It has a little bit of green tinge on the lower modes, but once you apply more power, that fades away substantially. I have no problems with the SST40 here, other than I wish it was a neutral tint, and you know, high CRI is always nice, but I realize you're probably not going to get that from Olight ever. The beam here is good through that new optic. It is TIR style. You can kind of see that in here, how it is not a traditional reflector. It is a little bit different looking than the older style light there, but the output is very, very similar in terms of beam pattern. The great thing is that there are 2 layers of glass here being used. First on the front, there's your normal little glass lens, and then the optic itself is glass, Olight says. You do see that proximity sensor up on top. Fortunately, that does not detract from the beam quality. They've engineered around that, which is always nice to see. This should help eliminate the melting lens and clothing issue that the original Warrior Mini had. In my opinion, overall, the beam is good for EDC with a medium to large hotspot and quite a bit of spill. Good for close-up work and medium to far range as well. Olight lists the official output modes here as turbo is 1750 lumens, stepping down to 500, then 200. High is 500 lumens, stepping down to 200 lumens. Medium is 120, low is 15, and moon is 1. Turbo here sees a slight bump with the Warrior Mini 2, as does the step-down modes in turbo and high outputs. There is a very small amount of PWM that I can detect with my oscilloscope on low mode only, but all the other modes are fine and I don't detect it with my eyes. Okay, here are my night shots for the Olight Warrior Mini 2. This is running an SST40 LED, 6,000 to 7,000 Kelvin is the temperature range they give, probably about 70 CRI. I've got it here in low mode, 15 lumens, and this is a good indication of the beam shape. You can see it's pretty round. You don't see the proximity sensor in the beam at all at this range, and you don't see it further out either. Overall, pretty good beam shape in my opinion for EDC style tasks. Panning up, you can see 15 lumens does reach my fence, but not very bright. Here is medium mode, 120 lumens. This is the same as the original Warrior Mini output so far. Here is high, 500 lumens. Again, nice beam shape here. And here's turbo, 1750. And it'll run like this for about a minute before stepping down to 500 lumens. And then after about 4 to 5 minutes, it'll step down to 200 lumens total. We can see it reaches the trees. Those are about 150, 200 yards away roughly. A good beam profile, lights up the neighbor's backyard well, side of my house well. We've got a decent amount of spill here. Good EDC style beam in my opinion. So a bit of comparison, here is the Warrior Mini, the original. This is 1500 lumens, same LED, get a good idea what it looks like. And here is the Warrior Mini 2, 1750 lumens, same LED. To the eye, they're very, very close. The new Warrior Mini 2 has a slight advantage, but not a whole lot. I did want to demonstrate the proximity sensor here at night. So this is on turbo. If I bring my hand in, you can see it step down. And if I remove my hand, we can see it steps back up again. So do that one more time. It steps down, move it back, it steps back up. Works pretty well. If I hold my hand here over a minute, the light will shut off, and we'll go ahead and do that and speed up the footage. And there we can see the light shut off. I want to turn it back on, just hit that tail button again. There we go. The two modes of the tail, here is the low at 500 lumens and the max at 1750. One of the minor annoyances with the proximity sensor here, it's made testing very difficult with the light because even in high mode, it will shut off after 1 minute when it detects an obstruction that doesn't move. So I improvised and used a dark room with a light about 3 feet from the sensor of the meter. Olight lists turbo as lasting for 4 minutes on the Mini 2, and you can see from my graphs that it lines up pretty well with what I saw. You only get top output for a minute before it steps down to 29% relative output over the next 3 minutes. After that, it runs for 208 minutes, exactly what the manual says, before stepping down 2 more times. Total runtime was 4 hours, 20 minutes. Low voltage protection on the battery kicked in at 2.75 volts. The max temp I saw during this test was 54 C at 1 minute 45, but during a bulk of that runtime, the light ran about 41 C, which is fine to hold in your hand. I also ran a runtime on medium and got numbers that were within 2% of Olight's claimed runtime. I have every reason to believe Olight's telling the truth here on output numbers. They're usually pretty good. The UI on the Warrior Mini 2 is the same as it was on Olight's original Mini. It has 2 buttons for operation. First, you've got the tail switch, which is for your more tactical operations, and then you've got the standard upfront silicon switch there for normal uses. It follows Olight's basic UI for the most part. The light does have 2 configurations for the tail button as well. I'm running in the default configuration. In configuration 1, when you half press on the tail button, you get the light in medium mode, and then when you full press, you get turbo, the full 1750 lumens. You can half press quickly there and it stays on, full press and it stays on, or you can run momentary by pressing and holding, and it'll shut off on both options. In configuration 2, the tail switch goes to turbo on half press and strobe on full press. If you need strobe, that'd be the configuration to run. The UI is similar to other Olights, but with a few differences. Long press from off and you go to moonlight mode there. Double click to go to turbo, triple click to go to strobe, and there is that front E switch that is used for mode switch, but can also turn the light on from off as well. What I really want to talk about here though is the proximity sensor. It's the first time Olight's got it right in my opinion. I've not wanted to disable or remove it on an Olight. What they did right was give the programming the ability for the light to come back on. So here it is in turbo. You can see my hand gets close, it clocks down, but if I move it away, it clocks back up. This is exactly what you want to see, so you get maximum output as soon as the disruption clears from the lens. As I mentioned before, if that obstruction stays there, the light will shut off after 1 minute. And really, it doesn't build up enough heat here where it's a concern. I showed that earlier with the black sock. It's a clever way around the design to avoid problems like they had with the original light. Bad PR, bad for the company. The one time it would matter is if you're trying to run a diffuser or something like that on the top of the light. This isn't going to be your light to do that with. I would be a fool for not mentioning that the Warrior Mini 2 also has a lockout mode after what happened with the original Mini. I'm sure Olight would like me to mention that you should use lockout when carrying this light in your pocket. The manual does mention to lock the light if it's left unused or carried to avoid accidental activation. You cannot mechanically unscrew this light to break contact with the battery. As soon as you've basically made contact and have threads engaged, the light is capable of coming on. There's nothing new to report on the recharging front with the Warrior Mini 2. It comes with Olight's newest MCC 2A charging system here, which is faster and denoted with that red inner ring. The magnetic charging system is easy and convenient there. It just clips on. When charging, you get a red light here and then a green light when charged. The magnetic charging system is convenient and easy to use, but does require this proprietary 3500 milliamp hour battery, and the Warrior Mini 2 is no different here. This battery will charge in a traditional charger just fine since there's no inner plastic ring here that stands proud of that positive terminal there, so that's kind of nice to do too. Tested the capacity with my Vape Cell S4 Plus that I've also reviewed here, and it fell just a little bit short of the 3500 milliamp hour runtime claim at 3398 milliamp hours. Total charge time took 2 hours 35 minutes, and as usual, my charging system does not care for the drops in current that the MCC chargers do, so this graph's incomplete. Max charge rate I saw was 1.3 amps at 1 hour and 16 minute mark. Battery measured 2.2145 volts, and low voltage protection was measured at 2.75 volts. So if you follow this channel, and I hope that you do, you should know that I've done 2 videos on the original model of the Olight Warrior. Overall, I liked this light, and it had a few issues that occurred when the light came on accidentally while in people's pockets for various reasons. This resulted in melted lenses, a few melted pieces of clothing, etc. Well, with the Warrior Mini 2, Olight solved those problems by the use of a glass lens and installing that proximity sensor. And I think the improvements here of those are good. It solves the issue. On past Olight models, I've not been a fan of proximity sensors, but on the Warrior Mini 2, I think they got the programming right as it provides that added protection so you don't melt anything, and the light still is usable since when the obstruction is removed from the lens, the light goes back to its original brightness. I wouldn't have called this light the Warrior Mini 2. I would instead have called it the Warrior Mini Pro because of the similar upgrades Olight did with the S2R2 Baton and the Baton Pro. You don't notice the brightness change much on the Warrior Mini 2, but the increase in length is noticeable if you choose to EDC it. Overall, the Warrior Mini 2 is a nice light, and it's a good upgrade over the original with more performance, and importantly, it fixes the flaws the original light had with that added proximity sensor. This makes for a better flashlight that's much safer to use. I just wish it wouldn't have grown in length as much as it did. So if you've made it this far, you're probably considering picking up this light, and if you are, the flash sale that starts tonight, June 17th, will be your best time to pick one up. There'll be a couple colors available. You'll get a black, there'll be a desert tan that's like this, and then you've got that mountain sky edition as well. The black and the tan go for $67.46 and mountain sky for $71.24. You can add about $4 more and bundle it with an i3T mountain sky edition too. I have one of those and it's a lot of fun. I'd say go with the bundle. Odins are back in black and gray for $118 and $125 respectively. There are bundle deals with the O-Bulbs and the O-Lantern Mini 2 with that. And then the Olight O-Lantern Mini is being released for the first time in black and red for 25% off, on sale for $44.96. It has bundle options as well. And then there are mega packs and free tiers too to get free products, save more, and everyone that buys something will get a free Father's Day multi-tool too. So if you're interested, use my link in the description. It does help the channel, and I appreciate your support even if you don't choose to purchase anything. Of course, those are always appreciated as well. And if you've enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, share, and I'll catch you on the next one soon.